I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
Welcome to the We Are Actuaries podcast, where you'll meet leaders who use their actuarial powers to solve a range of problems and make a real difference. I am your host, Julia Lessing, and I'm a qualified actuary based in Australia. I help actuaries develop communication and leadership skills to build great actuarial careers. So settle in, learn from the best, and be inspired. Today I'm talking to Liting Chen, an actuary who took the bold step to leave her secure career in actuarial and embark upon a journey of entrepreneurship. After 17 years in a successful actuarial career, Liting asked herself a question that a lot of us quietly ask but rarely act on: what's next? To find the answer, she left her actuarial role, not because anything had gone wrong, but to explore what else she was capable of and who she could become. Today, she's the founder of Plenitude Financial, working in mortgage broking and developing partnerships with organisations who share the value of enhancing wellbeing. She's also become a keen runner with 2 marathons planned this year. Today, we'll talk about what it's really like to change industries and start from scratch, the loneliness of entrepreneurship that no one really prepares you for, and an idea Liting calls becoming: different shapes, same clay. Liting, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julia.
What an exciting path that you've had, Liting. People talk to me about this all the time, the idea of leaving their actuarial career to do something else. But you have actually done it, and you're 3 years into having done it. So I'm really excited to hear some of your stories and lessons today. But before we get into that, Liting, I'd like to ask you the question I ask all my guests, and it's this. Liting, how do you use your actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world?
Well, for me, I think the word superpower, actually superpower, it's not really just about the technical knowledge that we have.
Mm.
It's really just about, how we think and how we act.
Mm.
As an actress, we naturally good at problem solving, managing risk, and we tend to be very analytical, disciplined and accountable as well. This is a very powerful skill set, a very highly transferable skill set as well. And it does open up a wide range of diverse range of path that actors can take. Look at me as example. My everyday work is so different from how it was 3 years
Mm.
ago, but the skill sets I utilize every day, they're pretty much the same.
Mm.
So I think, all the years of actual trainings that we've done, or put us through all these years, really just didn't prepare us to become actors. It does, those are skill sets are something that we can take with us wherever we go and whatever we do. So I think that's really the actress superpower. Mm.
I love that, Liting, because I think sometimes the fact that we've spent so much time training as actuaries is what keeps us as actuaries.
That's
A lot
right.
of people think, oh, I've spent all these years training. But the way you framed it, our actuarial skill set is quite transferable, and you've shown how that can be done. So, um, yeah, I love the way you've described that. Now, you've had a successful 17-year actuarial career. I mean, that's solid. So, congratulations. What made you decide to leave?
Yes, I had 17 years of great experience, in the actual world. But I think I was lucky that my 17 years was actually quite, smooth sailing. I was very fortunate to have great leaders and great colleagues. And, like everybody else, I started as an analyst and then slowly built up, into the leadership territory. So, um, back in 2023, it's a huge year for my team. And because of some of the flow on impact from COVID, our renewal volume was double literally for that year. And then the same as, everyone else in the market, and hence the market activity, the tender activity also doubled. So it was a really demanding, huge year for us. But we work incredibly hard, and then we deliver exceptional results. It was then, quietly I had the thought, what's next thought, because, I spent 17 years becoming increasingly good at doing one thing. And I was get to 40, territory as well. And once you turn 40, you start thinking, what am I happy with where I am? I probably was. But am I gonna keep doing this for the next 25 years? And then that's when I start thinking, maybe a change was the decision. And then, and I still remember thinking to myself, I don't, when I get old, lying down in a hospital bed, when I look back, am I going to regret thinking, what if, right? So I think the decision was quite peaceful. It wasn't a dramatic decision. It was a very quick and peaceful decision. And it just felt that naturally it was the right time, and it was the right time to end one chapter and start the next. So
Mm.
yeah, that was how it happens, I guess.
Wow, amazing. I love the perspective that you bring around, looking back. How will you feel looking back? Because sometimes it's about, oh, I'm not sure what else to do now, or I've sort of invested all this time. I should just keep doing what I'm doing. But that opportunity cost, I suppose, of what happens if you don't change. And you had that sort of nagging feeling that maybe there was something else.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Takes a lot of courage to make that leap, Leating. And people often think that starting your own business, you could have taken lots of different pathways, but starting your own business is the path that you chose. And some people think, oh, that must be wonderful, just, being your own boss and so easy. But actually, there's a lot of challenges with having your own business.
That's right.
So, what did you find once you actually started your business? What did you find harder than expected?
I think firstly, the reality of entrepreneurship, it's actually a bit less glamorous than, what the title suggests. All of a sudden at the start, when you start your own business, you play all the roles, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly I become the broker, I'm the call center administrator, I'm the compliance officer,
Yep.
I'm IT department, and
IT department.
I know, and I actually have to build my own website for
Yeah.
myself. So, it's a very daunting process. There was
Yeah.
no one there really telling me what to do or how to do something.
Yeah.
I have to just learn as I go and through making mistakes. So I think that the habit was really just the uncertainty around me, and also the fact that I'm not in control anymore. As an actuary,
Mm, mm,
that was difficult. And it's just there was a period of really loss of confidence,
mm,
and hesitation as well, and also started questioning whether I make the right decision, to quit my corporate world, because I could be it was like I said, smooth and great, and it was stable, and but then, gradually I just learn to accept the uncertainty more instead
mhm,
of trying to eliminate it or reduce it. I
mm,
learned to accept it, and also learn that I don't need all the answers before I can keep moving forward. So I think that's biggest learning out of this journey. And and the other aspect I think turned out to be a lot more difficult than what I anticipated was really the loneliness that I associate with
mm,
entrepreneurship.
mm,
It's, people think about entrepreneurship and they think about freedom, working for yourself, your
mhm,
own boss, and you have the flexibility to do kids drop off and all that things. But I think loneliness is real. I'm here in my office and my home, and I can spend a lot of time here by myself. So yeah, and if you look back to my corporate world, or everyone's corporate world in general, you have the human interactions all around you. You talk to your colleagues, you have a coffee, you have lunch together, you can bounce idea, and you can, gossiping, and then you can even talk about your boss behind their back, sometimes. And they are very small things, but they're so small that they're often taken, for granted. And but they are very important human interaction that is
mm,
lacking or missing once you enter the entrepreneurship territory. So
mm,
I think so. One of the best decision that I've made for myself is really to start sharing my experience and my learning along the way on LinkedIn. And I have built a lot of genuine connection on LinkedIn, just
mhm.
like,
Like us.
ours. So, by sharing, knowing people often feel the same, having the same experience as you, I think makes just make me feel less lonely, and it's good to also good to see people actually find my posts, resonate and
Mm,
meaningful. And that's also that was also very great feeling as well to see that. So I guess entrepreneurship has been, more challenging than I initially
mm,
anticipated.
mm,
But it also has been a great, journey of learning and, becoming
mm.
along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you've learned a lot, Leeting. And I remember when I started my business in 2015, going through that same process that you described. You worked for a big company and you had worked for some really big companies as an actuary, AXA and AMP and AIA, where
Yep.
you've got an IT team, you've got, support services for things.
That's
And similarly for me, I'd come from a big four consulting firm and, all of a sudden had to do my own IT, had to build the website, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, wow, this was never part of my actuarial training or my career experience to date. So it's this huge vertical learning curve. And that loneliness you've described as well, it's easy to take for granted those water cooler conversations and, just having colleagues to chat with as well. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you found your feet with that and found ways to connect with others. And LinkedIn certainly is a great platform for that.
it is.
Um, so, in addition to kind of having to learn all these extra skills and new toolkit to run a small business and overcome the connection and loneliness aspects, well, how did it feel personally to go from being an experienced actuary to entering a completely different industry and starting from scratch again?
We'll be right back.
You're listening to the We Are Actuaries podcast, brought to you by the Guardian Actuarial Leadership Program. If you're looking for a tailored training program to help you build your communication and leadership skills, registrations are now open. Head over to guardianactuarial.com.au for more information.
Mm. Yeah, I often describe this feeling as being going from the smartest person in the room to the dumbest person in the room. Not in a competent sense, but sorry, not in an intelligent sense, but in a
Mm, mm,
competent sense.
mm,
With 17 years, I built my expertise and my reputation. And when I was working for corporate, I had people come to me every day looking for answers and
mm,
but suddenly I become the one who needed the answers. Yeah.
mm,
So it was a big adjustment that I had to make, and I have to really learn to feel comfortable saying I don't know, but I'll find
mm,
out.
mm,
So
mm,
I think the biggest learning for me is really just to really separate uh, what I know and who I am.
mm,
And I also have to learn to, let go of some of the ego that I have built, from being an experienced senior professional.
mhm,
And it wasn't easy. It takes time to get used to it. And I think at the end, I have learned really just, saying I don't know or making mistakes don't make me um, less capable.
mm,
I think it's just I have to recognize that this is just I'm just learning something new, and I'm just I'm growing, and this is the state I am, and I have to get through this, and I will become a experienced professional again. So I think that mentality shift was really important along the way. Yeah.
mm, mm. That's a big shift though, isn't it? To go from being the expert, being the person that people come to for answers, and then realizing that you don't always have the answers. And as you said, that ego aspect, that can be really, really challenging, but also really powerful if you can see that for what it is and be open to learning and have that confidence to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. So, yeah, amazing. So, uh, not just in your professional life have you been doing new things, but you've also been becoming new things in your personal life too. So let's talk about your new hobby, running.
Yeah.
You've told me that you've gone from being someone who hadn't exercised in about 20 years to someone who's, training for her first marathon. In fact, you've got two marathons lined up this year. What happened?
I don't know. I never saw myself being a runner, to be
Uh-huh.
honest. Like yeah, like 20 more than 25 years to
Wow.
be precise. That I, had no exercise at all because this family, this work, and it
Yep.
was exercise just
Study.
wasn't just study, wasn't just the priority
Mm.
at all. And I think like well, exactly a year ago, I started having the thought that I need to start looking after myself.
Mm.
And I think at that point in time, I was also inspired by some ex-colleagues and friends. And then I suddenly decided that, hey, maybe I should just join my kids and go to park run
Oh, yeah.
for once, right?
Mm.
So it was on a Sunday. It was only 2 kilometer run for the kids. So
Hmm.
I rock up very comfortably thinking it should be a piece of cake. I was standing among all the kids, and then the run started, and the kids just shut off, right? I was like, oh, I better chase up with
Yeah.
them, and then not surprisingly, I ran out of steam, in
Mm.
200 meters in. So I guess that was the kind of the official start of my running journey. It wasn't a pleasant one, but it was one that hit me really hard. So
Mm.
I love I can't believe I'm saying this, but I love running now. I don't know where this come from, but running, I can sit here and talk about running for hours.
Yeah.
But I guess, what stand out of running for me is really some of the lessons I learned
Mm.
throughout the way. And a lot of them don't just really just don't apply on running. It applies to life in general as well.
Mm.
So one example is that a few months ago, I completed my first 30-kilometer run.
Wow.
And
Congrats.
thank you. That was huge. And then
Mm.
there was a thought that stayed with me for a long time. And then I was reflecting on the thought, and then suddenly I realized that wasn't the first time I was feeling that. And then, I thought about it deeper, and I actually felt the same thing, before my first ever 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, my first 15 and first, half marathon, my first 25 kilometer, 28, before that
Mm.
30. And I even felt the same thing, with the first 32 kilometer I run and 35 kilometer I run. I thought about, I had the same feeling every single time. And
Mm.
that feeling was that, every one of those distance have felt impossible until I did it. And it's just led me to start thinking perhaps, sometimes impossible isn't impossible. Sometimes it's
Mm.
simply unfamiliar.
Mm.
So, I think we often get confused between the thought that I haven't done something before and the thought that I can't do it. Um, all the lessons I've learned, I've just felt that, you really don't know what you're capable of doing until you have a good go at it. So that was my lesson from a few months ago. It does, running for me now is it's not just for fitness anymore. It's really a part of my self-discovery journey.
Mm.
And I'm not asking everyone to put their running shoes on and go out and have a jog straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
I think running just happened to be my vehicle.
That's your
And I
vehicle.
think for everyone else, it could be something completely different. But I do think that, finding that something, whatever it
Mm.
is really worthwhile exploring because it could be life-changing, just
Yeah,
how
yeah.
I gone through mine. Yeah.
That's that's so inspiring, Liting. And I know many actuaries are runners. In fact, many actuaries tell me that they listen to this podcast while they're running. So there might be some runners out there listening to you talking about running now. Um, but this idea of self-limiting beliefs and the words that you just said that will really stick with me, which is, impossible isn't impossible. It maybe it's just unfamiliar.
Yep.
And it's so interesting that it's the first time I've thought about running in terms of not just the exercise and lacing up shoes and going for a run, but thinking about what that really means in terms of our own limiting beliefs and what we believe is possible and what we believe is true, or the assumptions that we're making that maybe aren't true or haven't been tested enough. So, um, yeah, how fascinating. So for you, that's been a way to grow personally as well as to grow your fitness. It's been more than just running.
That's right.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, good luck with your two marathons this year. I look forward to
Yeah.
hearing how that goes. It's very inspiring. So, I guess, if you look back over the last 3 years since you've left your actuarial career, Leeting, what would you say to other actuaries who might be wondering what else is possible for them?
Mm. I think that there's an idea I really want to share here, an idea that has strongly resonated with me for a long time, and an
Mhm.
idea that I've been reflecting a lot recently as well. And I actually wrote a series on about it on LinkedIn. So it's an idea of different shape, same clay.
Mm,
Um, so taking myself as example, 17 years ago, being an actuary was a significant part of how I see myself.
mm,
Um, but now I'm a business owner, I am a broker, and I write regularly on LinkedIn, and I even can call myself as a runner now,
you're a runner.
officially. So, my shapes have changed significantly
Mm,
compared to
mm,
how it was 3 years ago.
yep.
But underneath it is still the same lutein. I'm still the same clay,
Yeah.
not changed. It's only
Yeah.
the shape that have changed. So
Yeah.
I think I think that the my interpretation of this idea of different shape, same clays is really just that regardless who you are and what shapes you are in,
Mm,
um, underneath the clay remains the same over time.
mm,
I think for me, it was important because after I understood this idea, um, then all of a sudden, change become a bit less scary to me, and uncertainty become a bit more acceptable.
mm,
And over time, it interestingly, it helped me to develop a different kind of confidence in myself. It's not that kind of confidence that I know things will definitely not work out the way that I want them to, but
mhm, mhm, mm,
things do change. So, and once I understood that, and once I developed this kind of different kind of confidence, and it actually surprisingly enabled me to stay open for more possibilities to come.
mm,
A very good example of that is just like, the LinkedIn right now, you're looking at right now on the screen,
mhm.
is a different version of LinkedIn already compared to the LinkedIn 30 minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this LinkedIn is almost, finished her first podcast.
Yay.
And, this is something that the old version of LinkedIn, who always shy away from the camera, would
Mm,
never imagine herself doing.
mm,
So for me, this is what becoming is about. It's not about looking for the ultimate or the perfect version of ourselves,
mm,
but it's really to stay open and be curious about what else you could do and who else you might become. So, looking back 3 years ago, I made that decision to leave my corporate life behind. Um, I didn't just leave a career behind, but at that point, I thought I was leaving a career behind, but
mm,
I
mm,
was just leaving a shape behind.
mm, mm,
And that lead team didn't understand why she was making that decision. She just thought just the right timing. But
yep.
this different shape and same clay
Mhm,
idea explain exactly why I make that decision. So
mm,
yeah, it does make me to reflect a lot on this, and I think it really explained what I have been doing and who I have become. And for someone who's wondering, what are the possibilities out there, I really just take a step to have a good look at it. Take a different shape, and you will still remain who you are. I mean, as actors, what if it doesn't work out, what would be the worst? Come back to your old job, which is not a bad idea as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have something in your mind, just go for it. Take the step and really go for it.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yep. Amazing. I love this concept of same clay but different shape, and that it's about identity, but you're still you, and who might you become. And I really enjoyed your LinkedIn series of posts on clay, and maybe we should link to some of those in the show notes as well. Liting, it's been wonderful hearing from you today and hearing some of your experience of what it was like leaving your 17-year-long successful actuarial career working for some really big companies and becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business. And alongside that, all the things that you've learned and the personal growth you've had through running as well. I want to close our interview with one question, and it's this. Liting, what's your top tip for actuaries wondering about what they could become?
I guess just kind of following from, the previous points, um, top tip would just be, don't let the shape you're in right now to limit who you think you can become tomorrow. Um, no, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your job or make a dramatic change in your life. It's, but if there is something that you're curious about and just go for it. And whether it's within the career, outside career, just really give yourself a chance to try that out because there might be a different version of yourself that you haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. So, yeah.
Wow. Beautiful advice, and how exciting for us that there might be a version of ourselves that we haven't met yet,
Exactly.
and not letting the shape that we're in right now prescribe where we go from here. So, Liting, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely wonderful hearing your stories and lessons, and you're such an inspiration for so many of us. I'm sure our listeners will find this interview really, really inspiring and interesting as well. So, thank you, and best wishes for your marathons.
Thank you, Julia. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it, real life stories and practical tips from a leader using their actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to get in touch, subscribe, leave us a review and share it with your network. You'll find details from today's interview in the show notes below and on our website www.guardianactuarial.com.au. Until next time.
Julia Lessing's new book, Senior Leadership, An Essential Guide for Actuaries, covers advanced managerial strategies designed for more experienced leaders. It builds on the foundation of Julia's first book, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders. Together, these two books offer actuaries a complete leadership development pathway. The strength of this new guide lies in its practical strategies that actuarial leaders can implement to improve teamwork and organizational effectiveness. We're thrilled to collaborate with Julia again. She's an inspiration to actuaries everywhere.